Warning: this episode contains content involving sexual assault, rape, murder, and torture. Your discretion is advised.
Hello and welcome to the Night Parade podcast, where we shine light on the dark. Each episode we present to you a case on all things true crime and paranormal. We'll be your host for this evening. My name is Glenn.
And my name is Jan.
And we work together here with the team at Night Parade Studio to bring you this show. Hey guys, one way you can support us absolutely for free is just by heading on over to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, wherever you choose to enjoy your podcast, and leaving us a review. It only takes a few minutes and it really goes a long way for helping us out.
And for you that are joining us for the first time, first off, welcome to the Night Parade.
That's right.
We hope you guys enjoyed the last episode, which was our Season 3 finale. We were finally able to close off our demonic possession series, and we had some really horrifying and gruesome stories in there. Don't get too comfortable though, because this season is just as crazy, if not worse, than the last season we had. There's going to be lots of gory details because we're diving deep into the topic of evil killers.
Yeah.
Now get ready, because these stories will frighten you, and for this particular story that we're covering today, I would not recommend eating and listening to this podcast or watching the video on YouTube. This is just not something that you eat. Well, I mean, if you guys are into that, go ahead, do it, but I wouldn't do it. Would you?
No,
I
wouldn't.
It's too much.
It's pretty nasty, this one.
This is the story of a poor woman who stole money from the wrong guy, raised in poverty, and having to resort to sex work in order to raise her only son and survive. She never had a chance. This is the story of Hello Kitty murder. Let's get started.
Let's do it. There's just something so alluring when it comes to mixing something as horrible as murder with something as lovable and as cute as Hello Kitty. It's what brought us to this case, and it's what brought you here. However, this case might have you never looking at Hello Kitty in the same light again. It's about a hostess from Hong Kong who got involved with the wrong guy, a member from the Triad, which is like the Chinese mafia. She made the fatal mistake when she decided to try and steal money from him. She not only paid for it with her life, but with one of the most horrific tortures this show has ever seen. At the time of this event, Hong Kong's homicide rate was one of the lowest in any major city. Police were completely baffled when they discovered such a horrendous crime scene. Our victim was poor, raised in poverty, she didn't have parents, and she was forced into prostitution at a very early age. She didn't have much of a chance, really, but she did have a son who lives on. As usual, we're going to be covering a general overview of the story based on articles and YouTube videos we'll link down in the description below.
Our story for today drops back to 1999. A 14-year-old made her way to a Hong Kong police station to report haunting by an apparition of a woman. The phantom that she saw was barely recognizable as a human from the obvious physical torture it endured. It looked as if she had been bound and gagged because electrical wire was still embedded in its ankles and wrists. She reported the ghost's disfigured face wailing into the night. Given the circumstance of the situation, the police did not take her seriously, as they do for most paranormal cases.
Yeah.
Police really just shrug it off. They believed she was either on a drug-fueled psychotic episode or just seeking attention from the police because nobody else gave her the attention, I suppose. However, everything changed when she mentioned one important detail, that the ghost that she was seeing was of a woman who she had helped abduct and get murdered. The police were alarmed and finally took notice of the girl's request and followed her back to a flat in the city's rundown Kowloon. This is when they realized that her claim were not really just made of dreams, but indeed real nightmares that she relives from the past trauma. So this is getting pretty serious by the minute. When they arrived at the flat, they were met with a horrible and decrepit scene. The beige paint was peeling away, exposing large portions of the concrete. Pieces of furniture littered on the floor. There were obvious poor attempts at renovations with bamboo scaffoldings and wooden 2x4s just laying around all over the place. One disgusting and soiled single mattress was in the corner of the room, sitting by multiple piles of discarded condom packs and discarded needles used for drugs. If I'm assuming.
Yeah, it's not a pretty scene.
Yeah, if you guys are on YouTube and seeing the screen right now, this is a picture of, I believe, the actual place. This is the place where they found, or this is the scene that they found when they arrived there.
Yes, it's horrible.
So in the kitchen, they find a gas stove and a rusted refrigerator shaking. Rusted refrigerator. They found gas stove and a rusted refrigerator shaking. The girl points the police officer to the fridge. The police officers approach slowly as the one closest to the fridge begins to open the door. In it, they discover that the fridge is packed full of crudely butchered meat. Upon making the obvious realization, that same officer slams the door shut and then proceeds to run out into the hallway and vomit, which I think anyone would do in this situation. This is not really for anyone.
Yes, disgusting.
This is disgusting. The girl then confesses that this is the butchered remains of Fan Man Yi, our victim for today's topic. Then the officers are drawn to the oversized Hello Kitty mermaid doll in the corner. At first, it seemed just like any ordinary doll, like lying around, for any kids to play with. But they noticed a certain redness that stained the doll, almost like dry blood. Upon further inspection, they can feel something hard inside the doll, which is not normal in any doll. That's dangerous for children to have. Then they noticed some crude stitching done on the rear of the head of the doll. Then the officer begins to, open it up, the stitching back up. Then Fan Man Yi's skull, along with partially boiled and rotten brain matter, falls to the floor. It's okay. I cannot even imagine being that police officer who, opened that doll up. That is insane to encounter in that line of job. He
definitely wasn't expecting that.
Hell no, he was not. And if you guys again are watching on YouTube, we're putting up a picture of the actual Hello Kitty doll? Okay, so this is the mermaid Hello Kitty doll that they actually found. And wow.
It's disgusting to even think about that, like someone's head and brains.
Yeah, you can see where like the slit kind of is. Or no.
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Never mind.
But it looks dirty.
Yeah, that's a stain.
It looks so dirty, and it's just to think that it was found in this room too. It's like, I wouldn't want to touch any of this stuff.
Yeah, no, it's definitely nasty to think about. Like, a human being was boiled in that apartment, dismembered, and wow.
Yeah, sick. Let's talk about Fan Man Yi.
Yeah.
She actually always lived a really tragic life. It's sad. After being abandoned by her family as an infant, she grew up in one of Hong Kong's all-girl orphanages. In the early 1990s, Hong Kong orphanages were infamous for being brutal and unforgiving to the children. Those who were unfortunate enough to grow up in these places were rarely given opportunities such as education or employment. At 16, she was deemed by the state as an adult and evicted from this place.
Damn.
Up on the screen is a picture of Fan Man Yi. She looks like she's in her
early
20s. Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe the most recent picture.
Yeah. She's a grown woman, long black hair. Yeah, she's a mother at this point, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
With nowhere to live, no aid, and no qualifications, she turned to prostitution, petty theft, as well as drug abuse. At some point, she had a son, but it was never made clear on whether the father was one of her clients or if she actually had a partner. By the time of her early 20s, she had secured a job as a hostess at a local nightclub. But even then, the money went to feed her addiction and support her child. It's interesting. At this point, Hong Kong had a somewhat of a pimping ring going on. Prostitution sits in a gray area with the law of Hong Kong.
Yeah.
Somewhere it was and is still legal and illegal. You can even look this up too. The act of prostitution itself is legal. However, organized prostitution and keeping a vice establishment, causing or procuring another to be a prostitute, living on the prostitution of others, or public solicitation is all illegal.
So pimping was illegal.
Basically pimping and like.
But you could prostitute yourself, and it's alright.
If you wanted to, you could go hoe yourself out.
Okay.
Yeah, so this actually created a situation unique to Hong Kong, where you had pimps going out and buying real estate. They would buy multiple apartments and buildings and convert them into microflats. Then they would rent them out exclusively to prostitutes, where the girls conducted their trade, and it was perfectly legal.
Interesting. So they found like a loophole.
They found a loophole so that
to keep running their pimping business.
Yeah, they had like these whole complexes of prostitutes where the clients would just go to. And,
oh my god.
Yeah. And it was legal. It was all legal.
Interesting.
Very interesting stuff.
Yeah.
Very interesting stuff. Fan Man Yi found herself living and working in one of these establishments. Her landlord and many of her clients were triads.
Man. Well, that leads us to one of her clients, and this man is Chen Manlock, 34 years old, where they met at a nightclub where she worked at as a hostess. She became his favorite, and he would often ask for her personally, like, no other girls apparently. After discovering that they shared common interests, which might sound good at first, but it really was not. But then again, it was like a total win-win situation for both of them, because she was a prostitute who's trying to feed her addiction, and he was a pimp who had a lot of drugs to feed her addiction. So yeah, it's I wouldn't say good for them. But not too long after that, she became a regular group member along with Chan's henchmen. In 1997, desperate for money and drugs, Fan decided that she was going to steal Chan's wallet and attempt to take off with the $4,000 that was in it. Bad move.
Yeah.
This would be the worst decision of her life. The opportunity presented itself during a regular session she was having with Chen Manlock. After the session, she looked to the floor and saw a fat wallet protruding from the back pocket of Chan's pants. She didn't even stop to think, and in the heat of the moment, she glanced over her shoulder to make sure that he wasn't looking. She then grabbed the wallet from his pocket and stashes it away within the cluttered room, which is kind of smooth if you're gonna ask me, because the room's pretty cluttered. She's like hella fast, like that. Done. But Fan Man Yi was so nervous as Chen Manlock began to redress himself, but he didn't even notice that his wallet was gone. So he thanked her as usual after their usual day and walked out. As the door shut behind him, she took a sigh of relief. However, this moment wouldn't last long. After the session, Chen Manlock felt thirsty. Yes, and decided to head to the nearest convenience store. He panicked when he couldn't find his wallet, then began to retrace his steps. He remembered that the last time he had his wallet was at the nightclub when he paid Fan Man Yi. And that's when the realization hit him. Suddenly, all of his panic turned into rage, and he stormed back to the brothel, which, for those of you guys who do not know, is, the nightclub that she worked at. Basically, this is what you call it. Brothel. He pushed and yelled at the people in the line, and once he got there, making his way into the building, he banged on Man Yi's door, yelling accusations. That bitch took my money. Or she stole my money. Like that. He's just yelling, right? Really, really mad. Frozen in fear, Fan Man Yi slowly made her way to the door to open it. As soon as she did, Manlock swung the door open and pushed her to the floor. He grabbed her by the collar and pulled her head up so they could see eye to eye. Almost in a demonic tone, Manlock barks 2 words. Wallet! Now! Which is pretty scary.
Yeah.
This is a woman that you're intimidating. And if you're coming in with that much force...
This guy's a member of the Triad, too.
That, too. Thinking of that is scary to me. Especially for that poor woman. After releasing his grab, Man Yi struggled but gave him the wallet back. Swiping it away, he begins counting to make sure that all of the money that was in there was still in there, which was the 4,000 Hong Kong dollars. In order to pay him back for this insult, he instructed her to pay him back with 20,000 Hong Kong dollars. He then leaves the room and warns her that he'll be back soon. When Manlock returned the next day, he was enraged to find that her flat was empty. He let 2 of his henchmen know, Liang Xing Chaw and Liang Wai Lun, and they took action on the theft that was done by Fan Man Yi. Manlock knew that she couldn't have gone far, and they searched many minority districts as well as high commerce areas around Hong Kong. They were relentless in their search. For months they couldn't find her, so she was avoiding them for months. I'm not sure for how many months exactly, but she seemed to be safe for these couple of months. Then suddenly they spotted her working at a street corner. That's when they formulated a plan to abduct her. They pulled up next to her as if they were clients, then quickly got out of the car and shoved her into the back seat. That's when they drove her back to the flat, and that's when everything went south. Oh my goodness.
This is where the story gets really bad.
Really, really bad. Now, Fan Man Yi was kidnapped by 3 men and 1 girl. Those 3 men were Liang Xingcha, 27 years old, Liang Wai Lun, 21 years old, and Chen Manlock, who was 34 years old, with his 14 or 13-year-old grooming victim, known as Ah Fong in this story.
Yeah.
So they took her to an apartment at number 31 Granville Road in Chim Sha Chui, where they kept her in prison for a whole month. The original plan was to prostitute her for his own good, alright? But before long, everything just went to shit. During the time of her capture, Fan was under immense torture. According to the 13 or 14-year-old victim, Ah Fong, they beat her with metal bars, and they used kitchen utensils and furniture pieces. At some point, hung her by the hand and used her as a punching bag.
Yeah.
Which is insane. Like, you don't do that to anybody.
Yeah.
Let alone this, little woman, or I wouldn't say little, but she was petite built. And, you just can't imagine, like, 3 men were, just using her as a punching bag.
Gosh, yeah.
So, yeah. And Fan was subjected to burning of skin. At one point, got kicked in the head at least 50 times, and not long after that, Afong unfortunately joined in the beating. When asked about it, she said, quote, "I had a feeling it was for fun," end quote. Though the details of her part are not released for public knowledge as part of her plea deal. So I believe she's in some kind of protected custody or something like that.
Yeah, she's got a bargain to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To make matters worse, the wounds she had obtained from the torture were rubbed with spices, burned with candle wax and hot plastic, which is not good. I've gotten like hot plastic dropped on my finger before because I was dumb as a kid to play with plastic straws, burning it.
Yeah, gosh.
And my skin peeled away with the plastic. So
man,
you could only imagine all of her wounds, what it looks like, right? Which is just no skin.
She must have been in excruciating pain.
Cool. But these were mostly done on her legs and feet to disable her from walking. Nice. On top of this, they also sexually assaulted Fan, which I think is the worst of this whole thing, the sexual assaults. This must have been the most terrifying thing for her, but it did not stop. It did not stop there. Unfortunately, they forced her to eat human feces, along with urine, which is pretty disgusting, man.
Disgusting.
And it's not good for your body either. You know what I mean?
Like psychological torture.
Exactly. They even forced her to smile and say that she enjoyed the abuse that was being done to her, and if she refused, the torture got even more harsh. All over a debt dispute of 20,000 Hong Kong dollars, which is equivalent to $2,560 in our country, which U.S. dollars.
Yeah,
which is not a lot.
$2,000?
$2,000 is not a lot.
Yeah, to do something like this over $2,000.
Yes. If anyone could do that for $2,000, everyone would be doing it that's sick enough to do it.
It'd be a scary place.
This would be like a really, really, really scary place.
It's a good thing that they don't, but it's just horrible, and it's awful what happened to her.
Yeah, it really was. It's crazy. But after a month of being imprisoned by these terrible monsters, Fan unfortunately succumbed to her injuries and took her final breath while her captors were out at a party. When they returned home, they discovered Fan's lifeless body in the apartment where she was being kept in. They argued that Fan Manu died overnight because of an overdose of meth that she had administered herself, although professionals say that this is more likely caused by her injuries. But all of these are just speculations. But I mean, I'm kind of leaning towards the injury part. Come on.
What the heck?
What they did was pretty crazy.
In all honesty, a drug overdose would have been mercy for her at this point.
Yes, no. I mean, Fan was actually looking for drugs.
Oh yeah, she was an addict.
So yeah, she would have been helped by that. So this for sure was caused by the injuries that she obtained from this torture. Well, after that, the two henchmen then put her body into the bathtub where she was dismembered using a saw. Then they cooked the individual pieces of her body to stop her from decomposing and spreading the smell of rotting flesh. Oh my god. Then the killers boiled parts of her body and disposed them in the household's garbage. They would cook ramen noodles on the same stove right next to the pot that they were using to boil her body parts with. They even used the same cooking chopstick that they stirred with in the body parts.
Hey, yo!
Oh my goodness.
In addition, they kept the tooth and some internal organs in a plastic bag. Her head, however, was saved for a more evil plan. After boiling it on the stove, the captors placed her skull in a Hello Kitty mermaid doll, sewed it back shut, and there became the case of the Hello Kitty murder. Wow. That's pretty crazy.
That was intense.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of gruesome details for sure. Come on, dude. Imagine finding that Hello Kitty doll.
I feel so
in
sorry for
your
the
apartment.
officer.
Yes, like I would be scarred for life if I found that there.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's traumatizing.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So up on the screen is a picture of everybody that was involved.
Yes.
It's Chen Manlock and his boys. Yeah. That's what they look like, for those of you who are curious.
Both Leong and Leong.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously the photo of Fan Man Yi
Fan Man Yi.
also.
All right.
Wow.
So, this is actually where Chen Manlock's 14-year-old girlfriend / grooming victim becomes so consumed with guilt that she begins to see apparitions of the woman whom she had helped kill. She was too scared of her predator boyfriend, however, to say anything about it. She was also too scared to tell her parents, whom she had become distant from. She then turns to the police. She believes that this is the only way to bring justice to Fan Man Yi. At the Yaomate police station, they declared a territory-wide manhunt to bring all 3 of the men into custody. They found Chen Manlock enjoying dim sum at a local restaurant close to the murder scene. Police came in with an armored truck to arrest him. They stormed the place and dragged him from his chair as he was eating. The arrests of Lung Xingqiu and Lung Wailun followed shortly after. Police questioned them, and all 3 men had the same testimony. They all claimed to be running an illegal brothel, and Fan Man Yi had entered under their service consensually. They said that she was an addict, and she died from an overdose. Their only concern was to protect their own skin and to obtain the smallest amount of jail time as possible.
Right.
They said that after the overdose, they didn't want to get in trouble with the law or their triad superiors, so they just tried to make the body disappear. Yeah. After a psychological examination, it was determined that there was absolutely nothing wrong with any of them. There was no psychological trauma that you can relate to their past. It seemed that all 3 of these men were just evil. Yeah, horrible. Despite the testimony of Ah Feng, authorities lacked a sufficient amount of evidence to convict the men and sentence them to the most extreme punishment that could be put on them. Fan Man Yi's remains were just so badly damaged and incomplete that forensic scientists were unable to determine a cause of death. As such, the court couldn't rule if she had been murdered or died from a drug overdose, as Manlock claims. They were able to rule that by all accounts, the men were responsible for Man Yi's death. They were only convicted of manslaughter. As such, all 3 men were able to avoid the death sentence and were given life in prison with no possibility of parole within 20 years until 2020.
Which, I mean, was 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
Yeah.
So,
for all we know, they could have been out.
They could be out right now.
Yeah.
They could be. It's just horrible to think about.
It really is. It really is horrible.
Due to Ah Feng's age and cooperation with authorities, all charges against her, including the killing, were dropped, officially closing one of the most brutal murder cases in Hong Kong's history.
What do you think Ah Feng is like now? Do you think she's kind of like one of those quote unquote like crazy ladies in the town? Like,
well, having to go through something like this, maybe.
Right?
Like,
because I mean, I wouldn't be sane if I witnessed something like this at like 13.
13 years old.
That's very young.
So she's a child.
Yeah.
And like,
that's crazy.
It's, oh gosh.
Oh my goodness.
And these are just evil men too.
Yeah.
Like, God.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I'm glad that Ah Feng was dropped from the case.
I'm glad that she was too.
Yeah.
Actually.
Honestly.
Yeah. So let's. There's a couple small trivias that we can go over. As we mentioned, during the 7 years between her eviction at the orphanage and her murder, Fan Man Yi had a son, and it was never made clear whether the father was one of her clients or if she actually had a partner. Her son Also never came forward for interviews with information about his early life. It's probably better that we let him be and get on with his own life.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
just leave the guy alone.
Yeah. I mean, then if he wants to come forward, he can do it on his own.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
He carries on her legacy in a necklace his mother owned that he was actually able to keep after this case. He wears it every day.
That's sweet.
Yeah, that is sweet. We've also mentioned Hong Kong. It was a generally safe place to live back then. In 1999, they had 63 homicides and 91 rapes for a population of 6.6 million.
Which is pretty impressive.
That is pretty impressive. It's less than 100
Yeah.
for 6.6 million people.
Mm-hmm.
In 2019, they had 24 homicides and 50 rapes, with an increased population of 7.5 million.
Wow. What was that, like 30 years later or something?
That's 20 years.
20. No, that's 30, fool.
Is it?
Yeah, 2019. Oh, no, yeah, that's 20. I thought it was 1990.
Yeah.
Well, that's still pretty good.
It's impressive, yeah.
Yeah, because it went down, actually, from 1999.
With an
Usually
increased
things get
population.
worse.
Yeah, wow. Those are
Wow.
some insane numbers, actually, to think about. There were actually... another thing is that there were actually 2 movies based on this case.
Yes.
The Human Pork Chop,
Mm-hmm.
and There's a Secret in My Soup.
Which, I don't know about you guys, if you guys love movies that are, within kind of this genre,
Like gore
you guys
and
should
stuff.
check it out.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I watched There's a Secret in My Soup, and
Yeah.
it's just it's kind of distasteful. It's
Hey,
very nasty.
Some
to
people
watch.
like that.
Some people like it.
Yeah,
Well,
some people
go
like
check it out
that.
if you guys
Yeah,
want.
Go ahead. But other than that, what do you think about Fan Man Yi?
I think that she's a poor girl who didn't have much of a chance. Like she didn't have much of a life to protect. But I mean, she had a son.
Yeah.
But man, just the horrible circumstances that she was put in, and like the fact that she was turned to prostitution at such an early age because of it. It's just it's awful what happened to her.
Yeah. That's for sure. Because, I mean, dude, they didn't have no mercy on this girl.
There was no mercy. No mercy.
Insane.
This poor girl.
Wow.
Do you think that Chen Manlock and his men got what they deserved?
I mean, they got life in prison with possibility of parole. Which is, 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
That they were available for parole. I don't think they should have gotten, any parole and spent actually the rest of their lives.
Absolutely.
Because, I mean, these guys are part of, like, the triad, which has a lot of connections.
And they're going to go out and do it again.
Yeah. These are people who do not change over, it doesn't matter how long it is.
Really?
I mean... You know what? I'm just speaking for myself on what I think.
No, dude, anybody who's done something like this, it's like, I wouldn't want them walking around on the streets.
Oh, yeah, that is
Heck
for
yeah.
sure. That is for sure. Because either they got the life or death sentence.
They're truly evil.
Yeah, so
evil.
they didn't get the death sentence. They should have gotten full life, no possibility of parole, for sure.
Yeah.
But what do you think about Afong's charges getting dropped? Was that, like, a good thing? Should she have, like, served some time? Like, what was going on?
Well, I personally think that it was fair because of her, they were able to get this guy, Chen Manlock, and his men.
For sure.
It was because of her, I believe, that they were able to even get this story, because there's no way that these men would have admitted.
Right. Because, I mean, yeah, you're right. She was the one who... took this out the bag and, like, laid it down in front of the police and say, hey, this is what happened.
Yeah.
Okay? I'm just telling you because I'm feeling guilty and I'm seeing this girl in my dreams.
Yeah. And she was a child, too.
And she was
like
a child. You're right. Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
children do stupid things.
I totally do agree with that. And like she said, in quote, she thought that, you know, it was just for fun.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And you know, I mean, as a kid, I did a lot of dumb shit as for fun, but not killing somebody or joining in the beating. Yeah. But yeah, again,
the point is that children make mistakes.
Yeah, she was influenced in a really bad way. I mean, she was hanging out with the triad, for God's sake.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Oh my goodness, that would be insane.
Okay, but what about everyone else? What do you think about Fan Man Yi? Do you think that Chen Manlock and his men got what they deserved? And what do you think about Afang's charges getting dropped? Yeah, we want to know what you think.
Yeah, let us know down in the comments below, because, I mean, these are our opinions, once again, but we'd like to hear yours.
Absolutely. Yes. Absolutely. So that is a terribly tragic and horrific case of the Hello Kitty murder, in memory of Fan Man Yi's, whose life was tragically cut short because of a huge mistake that she made with the triad. We hope we were able to shine some light for you guys today.
And if you guys want to be able to support us for free, you guys already know what to do. We already mentioned all of our platforms that we are out in. So that's going to be in the description below. Make sure you guys check that out. And yeah, subscribe at, you know, the platform of your choosing. With that being said, would like to welcome you guys to the Night Parade. My name is Jan.
And my name is Glenn, and that's right. Welcome to the Night Parade.